It's an interesting time in crypto, man. I've given this rant like 3 times now today. I gave it to the last guest. I said at the beginning. I'm gonna give it one more time. This take that I can't unhear. I had a convo with a really smart trader today, and basically we're just talking about how it feels like after January 17th, 2025, when Donald Trump launched a meme coin, that the casino trenches game is increasingly more fried and potentially topped. But at the same time, everywhere you look, institutions, TradFi, all the big players in crypto, it's being adopted. They're being onboarded. They're deciding that the financial rails of crypto are just better and an improvement. And if you only looked on crypto Twitter and at pump fun meme coin volume, you would think that we're going in the wrong direction. But at the same time, it's like everything the diehard crypto crowd always wanted is like coming to fruition right now. And so I don't know. I just like open with that to ask you like, how do you feel about where we are right now in crypto?
Well, look, I mean, there's a couple. The question can be addressed as like as a trader or as an investor, and it's two different answers, right? I mean, yeah, you're right. Any headline that you're having any other day, in any other prior cycle, would have had a massive green candle, like the Genius Act, institutions bidding, J.P. Morgan, every other major financial institution, sovereign wealth funds, corporates, on the regulatory side, like pick any headline of any other day, and you would have had it would have been like the news of the cycle. And but now we've been desensitized to all of that because it's like now normal to see that. And so like it's incredible how much edge you can have as an investor if you take a multi-year time horizon, right? If you extend 2, 5, 10 years, you fundamentally it's increasingly hard to believe that we're not going to be at least a $10 trillion asset class, and we're sitting at 4. So you're at least like from that standpoint, like put in your bids in spot and chill, go do something else, and don't look at it. And like it's just, but again, it's like super hard to follow that because there's an infinite amount of temptation, and you can invest in DATs and other shit that likely will blow up. But if you just invest in simple stuff like Bitcoin, which by the way is incredibly hard to outperform, like there are full-time managers that have been doing this for the last 10 years and do not outperform Bitcoin. What makes you think that you're going to be able to do that? And so like that's from an investing standpoint. From a trading standpoint, I do think we're like in the 7th inning of this cycle. Like it feels to me, and I've been doing this since 2012. I've been in crypto since 2012. So consider me a dinosaur, call me whatever. Damn. Maybe I'm not up to date, but markets are incredibly psychological. And let me ask you a question: do you think that we're in the first half or the second half of this cycle?
I mean, yeah, it's like obviously the second half, right? Even as like a retard bull, delusional bull that I am, I mean, you can't say we're in the first half when the president of the free world launched a meme coin, correct? Like,
I agree with you. And so, again, if you invert, you say, if you think we're in the second half, I've made a lot of mistakes in my trading career, in my investing career, because I've tried to tick-top the market cycle. And I've never met an investor, not in crypto, not anywhere else, that systematically has been able to time markets. So let's just work backwards and say, be happy if you capture 50, 60% of the returns. And then play the game, right? Because there's going to be many more cycles. What you don't want is to blow up. Yeah. So if you don't want to like buy and hold for 10 years, then just be wary of, if you're going to allocate your portfolio, just assume that you're never going to capture, like you always have like parabolic moves in the last like inning of the cycle. Like look at Bitcoin, look at every chart in the last like couple of cycles. It just has a very big run up in a 1 month period. And it's so tempting to be there and say and be like, I'm going to catch this one.
Yeah.
Like I will be there, I will clock out, I'll punch out, but you're not. But the reality is you're going to be so caught up in it. And it has a massive drawdown, and then we all know how this movie plays out, which is like, it's gonna pump one more time. I promise. Hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then you're in a really bad psychological spot. So I feel pretty good. Like I've been rotating a lot of my stuff to Bitcoin, holding a little bit more cash. Look, if the market runs up 2x from here, it's super possible Bitcoin does that. I'm not going to feel terrible. I'm still allocated to it.
Yeah.
But I'll feel better if in the scenario where Bitcoin goes down to 60K, I'll have cash to bid.
Yeah. Look, I'm a little bit bear pill today for fun, so fuck it. It's a switch up from what I normally feel in the morning, so I'm down to talk about it a little bit. I also didn't really give you a chance to give a proper intro. Do you want to give a quick high level on who you are and what you do? Sorry about that.
No worries. Like, it's probably the most boring thing I'll say in this pod. But yeah, background's in traditional finance all my life. Started my career at JP Morgan doing investment banking, then did venture growth equity investing. Started investing in crypto in 2012, and kind of never looked back. To me, it grew up in Mexico, so felt like the financial use case and being able to move money cross border, being able to hedge against inflation was very real. Was a partner at Parify Capital, which is one of the larger crypto funds. We were super early into the DeFi train, actively on chain, and investing in early in Ethereum, Solana, most of the DeFi protocols. And then left Parify 4 years ago and been one of the most active angel investors in the space, I guess, by number of investments, I should say, not by return. But I guess that's me coping. But I've been, look at super active on the early investing side. In my family office, we manage liquid portfolio, different strategies, but a lot of it is still early stage. And just recently started a new company called Inversion. And Inversion is a private equity fund. We'll have a chain attached to it. But the whole idea is let's go and acquire real businesses where you can make them much more efficient by ripping and replacing infrastructure and just injecting crypto. A lot of it is just stablecoins. And you can make a business the idea is you can make a business vastly more efficient with this technology. And so we're going to go out and buy businesses and bring millions and millions of users on chain, right? And the simple thesis to it is, like, if you think about it, like, every user that comes into crypto walks into the casino and it's a really broken experience, right, man? Like, imagine if, like, go back to the timeline. When was it, like January or February, when Trump launched his meme coin?
January 17th. I'll never forget it.
January 17th, yeah. And you had, like, I think it was like 500,000 plus people sign up for the first time. And they're sitting there, wow, presidential meme coin, let's fucking go. This is my time. And then that was Friday. They come back Monday because, they don't know crypto markets are open 24/7. They log in back on Monday to Binance or Coinbase and they see Trump has, like, gone from 75 down to 18. And they're like, I hate this.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I hate crypto. I never want to come back. And so, like, crypto's really good to capture attention, but it's terrible to retain it because the longer you exist in the casino, the more likely it is that you're going to lose money. It's just statistically a thing. And I've been really frustrated because the reality, man, is, like, if you go look at my website, Inversion Cap, like, you just see a very clear thing of what's wrong with crypto, which is you go talk to adults or you go talk to companies and they'll say, yeah, okay, I hear you on blockchain, but, like, this whole crypto thing, it's like the meme coin stuff, nothing wrong with it, but it's just distracting, right? The reality is, like, stablecoins are incredibly powerful piece of technology. NFTs, incredible piece of technology. And so that's what gets lost in this. And we're never going to get to 1 billion users if they get all onboarded through the casino.
Yeah.
So I want to go and acquire companies with 20, 40, 50 million users where the end goal and the North Star is you never want users to know that crypto is on the background. Like, crypto is invisible. Like, let me ask you a question. Do you know how an airplane works?
Yeah.
Do you know how the internet works?
Yeah, how does Gmail work, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You don't fucking care. And I think, like, in all my time in crypto, you talk to founders and look, this technology is cool. Like, you talk to all the nerds and I'm a nerd too, and they're like, I love this thing. We're going to build this technology and everyone is going to appreciate it and come. And the reality is it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to be way more tactical and smart in how you go to market. And I think there's always going to be a time, a place for speculation, but we can do so much more. Like, we're selling ourselves incredibly short as an industry if all we're here to sell is a casino, a digital casino that's 24/7, 365.
Yeah.
And
Look,
yeah.
that was a sick take, and I definitely want to cover some inversion stuff. I want to say a couple things before I forget it. One is on your headline thing. I mean, dude, I remember when Visa bought a punk, and we talked about it for 3 weeks, right? You remember that? Of course, you remember that. And it was like Arizona T bought a Bored Ape, and it was like they're here. You know, I would imagine a lot of people that watch this chat heavily focus on Sol on chain, and so a lot of these people sit on a different side of crypto than you do objectively. And I think one of the reasons that the cycle has gotten weird is that if you look around, all you see is institutional adoption, stablecoin this, stablecoin that, prediction market this, prediction market that, TradFi integrating in crypto, stocks on chain, perps on pre-IPO companies. Like, you see the two things converging, and then you look around and you're like, okay, what's the trade? I'm not on cap table for, Stripe and their new L1. Like, I didn't get in the Circle IPO. I've no upside in any of this shit. What is the trade? And it's sort of like, I always come on here and I say the trade is spot Bitcoin and get clout on Twitter. That's my trade. Because which you could fill in place with build something, start a company. Like, what is the trade? I think is becoming an increasingly frustrating conversation where it's hard to directly bet on the thesis that TradFi will use crypto rails more, because they obviously are going to do that. And I think a lot of people don't know what the trade is, and so you get stuck into buying the furthest out on the risk curve you can go, which is like today's daily runner on Solana.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I hear you on that. Look, in my conversations with everyone in TradFi wants to like long stablecoins. So how do you do that?
How do you fucking do that? Yeah, exactly.
Circle USDC, and they're going bananas for Circle. Like man, Circle's in for a rude awakening once rates come down, and they're going to come down in a couple of weeks, right? Because for every 25 basis points that the Fed drops, it crushes Circle's profitability because they make money on that trade.
Whoa, yeah.
And
whoa,
dude, I mean, it not only is it trading at a crazy valuation, but the business in a world, said differently, in an extreme scenario where rates go to zero, Circle's profitability basically evaporates. So again, to your point, how do you go long stablecoin adoption? And I emphasis on adoption because I think stablecoins are the Trojan horse. It's like the internet. If you go back to like 2000, but mind you, 2001, 2010, 2001, I think after the dot-com crash, people were like, what the fuck is the internet for? This thing's vaporware. And email made the internet pervasive. Everyone loves email because everyone wants to communicate. I think stablecoins are that email moment for crypto. Like, everyone in the world wants to hold dollars and save in dollars and earn yield. And so the question is, how do you go long stablecoins? Who's going to win? I would argue not Circle, because everyone and their mother that has distribution is going to launch their own stablecoin. Why would they? If you're JP Morgan, you're going to launch your stablecoin. If you're Bank of America, you're going to launch your own stablecoin. If you're a retailer, fun fact, every large business eventually becomes a bank. Airlines, they make money not on moving you around. They make money on the credit cards that they sell you.
That's
Starbucks.
crazy.
Starbucks has at least $1 billion in deposits from customers that load the Starbucks rewards card. Oh yeah, and they don't ever claim that money. It's free deposit for Starbucks. And by the way, per the terms and conditions, they can keep that money if you don't use it after a certain period of time. And so all I'm trying to say is, going back to this question, okay, if stablecoins are this like mega trade that you can make for the next 10 years, like everyone's going to go to digital rails, because if you're a business, you would rather have someone pay you with stablecoins, because instead of receiving your money in 5 days, you get it immediately. Instead of, like, if you're a restaurant and you swipe with Visa or any credit card, you get charged 2, 3, 4, 5% by the credit card networks. Yeah. Stablecoins, 0. Or like less than 1%. So like that's a whole thesis for inversion, which is I don't want to make a bet necessarily on which chain, because the reality is the tech is kind of a commodity. It's open source, and you're already kind of seeing it play out. Like there's no real moat. I mean, the moat is on community, and I think the moat is on the company that has the relationship with the end user. Look at the internet giants, dude, Facebook. They own the customer relationship across their suite of products. So most of the value is always captured by the user aggregator. Discord, YouTube, Spotify, like if you have that relationship. And that's really the thesis that we have at Inversion, which is I want to buy companies that have distribution and have end customer relationship. Because if I buy that, then I'll put crypto on the back end where the customer doesn't see it, but my business all of a sudden, to give you a concrete example, restaurants have a 5% profitability margin, operating margin, less than 5%. It's super cutthroat, but they can make a lot of money. Imagine if you all of a sudden stop paying the 4 to 5% on every credit card payment.
Wow, is that high? It's 5%?
Yeah. No, it's at least 3 to 4, depending on who you are, what region you're in.
Ugh.
So now that profitability goes from 4% to 8%. You double your profitability at scale. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what crypto's all about. Mind you, this happened in the internet too, like 2000s. Most businesses were not using the internet. And then imagine if you're sitting in early 2000s and you're a business and you're like, yeah, I don't know what this internet thing's for. And now you fast forward to today, every business is using the internet. In fact, if you're not using the internet, you are out of business.
Yeah.
And the same thing will happen with crypto, because that's what crypto's for. Like every again, going back to this example, every company moves money, either receives money from a customer, pays money to a vendor, and when you're transacting, you're paying because there's a middleman and there's a checkpoint. And that's how you go long stablecoins. That's the opportunity that, I mean, I've been sitting here thinking, okay, there's gonna come a time where I can buy business where I can make it super efficient with blockchain rails. The reason why I haven't been able to do this is because of the regulatory stuff. So when did you think that I started Inversion?
Yeah, right after fucking
the day Trump got elected.
Yeah.
So the day Trump got elected, I was in New York staying at the Trump Hotel, and I started Inversion that day.
Whoa. So you're saying that all the good things that crypto does aside, just purely off payment fees, it's gonna win. Like, if you took away every product, just off pure
massive
credit card fees alone, stablecoins just win.
Look, if we stop innovating, and the only thing that we do other than Bitcoin is stablecoins, this industry is at least 10 trillion, at least. And the funny thing about going back to your initial opening about like where we are in the cycle, it's one of the most interesting times in the industry because I get the feeling that people outside of crypto are actually more excited about this technology than people that are in the casino.
Which is so
because
funny.
If you're in the casino, you're like refreshing. You're like long-term investor, but refreshes CoinGecko every minute, and you're like, "Hello, is price gonna move?" And again, take it to if it's now come a time where people in the boardrooms, people in companies, actual business people that are sitting there and saying, gosh, like I can go and use Stripe and Bridge and start receiving money through stablecoins. Yo, this is a legitimate financial institution that we already do business with. And they're gonna simplify all of this for us. I don't care the back end, as long as it's regulatorily compliant. And by the way, you had the Genius Act a couple of weeks ago. Like sometimes, like when you hear people like this time is different, it most of the time is like, yeah, the 4-year cycle is kind of over, which by the way is the most stupid thing. Don't ever believe that. Like markets are psychological. We will have drawdowns because people take shit to extremes. But the nuance is it does pay to really update your priors, which is we just had a total 180 on the regulatory environment. We went from being an industry that was been trying to be killed since its inception to now it's like legitimate. Yeah, like
Yeah,
if you've been around for this long and you're punching out, I'm sorry, brother in Christ, but you picked the wrong industry.
yeah, yeah.
I'll be a yoga instructor or something.
It's a dude. This is what honestly. This is why I bring a lot of different people on this stream, and I like to bring people such as yourself on who sit in a different spot than a lot of these trenchers, and because it's I always feel with crypto, like this is my full time everything life, and it is for a lot of people, and they're so focused on today's price action that you miss the forest for the trees. I've been saying this a lot recently. Is that the people that hate crypto the most are the ones that are so close to it that are unable to like take a step back and to see what's really happening because you're like so focused on like you're on if you have 15-minute chart open right on Bitcoin it doesn't really work like that. And if you played that way in 2021, you zeroed out in 23 and then you didn't come for 24, 25, right? Like you zeroed out in 23. If that's how you played, you're gone. You never came back. How do you make $1 billion with Inversion? And how do you onboard 1 billion people to crypto?
Let's just say I'm going to buy one business that has 15 to 25 million users.
Mm-hmm.
We have maybe 50 million active, 60 million active users in crypto today.
60 million.
So I go and acquire one business and I bring those users on chain to my chain, the Inversion chain, which we'll launch to do all the settlement, right? All the stablecoin settlement, all the yield generation for stablecoins is going to happen in my chain. Why? Because why would I leak that value to someone else?
Mm-hmm.
And so we buy the first business, we bring real GDP on chain. These are real businesses, telco businesses, retailers, trade finance businesses. There's a couple of sectors that we like. And so we do one acquisition, we make that business vastly more efficient. We do two things really well. One, we will be the first ones to showcase to the world that you can take a business and make it vastly more efficient with this technology. And then it's game over. Then no one can really second guess this industry. And that's why I'm doing Inversion, because if I do this well, the rest of the industry benefits because we deliver that email moment. It's like, oh, holy shit. We took a business, we made it vastly more efficient, and then people realize that this technology is vastly more than a casino. And then we buy more and more businesses. And we like to call ourselves like Berkshire Hathaway on chain, which is the goal is to continuously buy more and more businesses and bring those users on chain, like all that settlement activity. And the North Star here really is make crypto invisible, right? I never want my user to know what is happening in the back end. And that's the beauty of this technology. The really good technology like the internet, like airplanes, like bicycles, transformational technology got to scale because it didn't require people to know all the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
But it was safe. It was a good product. Like we're not going to compromise on that, right? So the idea is to buy businesses of scale, large businesses, make them efficient, cut down costs, increase revenue, and do all that settlement on our chain. And if we do that well, we'll become the largest chain by number of users, by real economic activity. Which, by the way, when you think about those existing users on chain today, most of them are here because we're in a bull market. And the reality is if Bitcoin's down to 50K, that active user base gets cut at least in half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because people leave.
For sure.
The goal here is to bring in users that don't get onboarded through an exchange. Because my users don't care if Bitcoin is at 100K, 200K, or 50K. At the end of the day, we're serving them a core service like telco, energy, trade. And so at the end of the day, like these are real businesses and the user base is not here for speculation. And so when you think about creating the largest network and chain, it's one, because my users are actively using this technology beyond speculation. And the last thing I'll say is you want to buy this business because if you go and try to, like before starting Inversion, I would talk to like so many of my portfolio companies and a lot of them would be like, hey, look, we built this great technology, but we try to sell it to enterprise customers or we try to sell it to customers, like even Coinbase Commerce or Pay. It's like, the reality is like it's super hard to sell into these businesses because they don't want to adopt crypto. Heck, they're still like running on antiquated spreadsheets, right? And so when you buy control of a business, I can just buy the business, run this transformation myself without asking anyone at the board to do it. And so that's the beauty of private equity, which is you don't have to ask for permission. You buy the business, you make the change, and it's game over.
Damn, man. I like, you know what I like about it? I like the take that onboarding people that don't come in through the exchange or the top of the funnel, because I feel like that is yet to be solved.
I mean, like, try to convince like your parents. If your parents have a business, and they have I don't know, say they have a convenience store. They're really going to go out of their way to create a Coinbase account. I mean, shit, they barely have like, most people are not very sophisticated with their finances.
Yeah.
So a core principle that I have is you never want to assume that you're going to change consumer behavior. Like, it is very hard. And so I'd rather go meet the customer where they are and acquire that convenience store, make it easy for people to use this technology without thinking twice, without asking them to do anything other than continue to use the product and service.
I like the take. I like, by the way, I like to not change consumer behavior. People are not super what's the word I'm looking for? With their adept with their finances, like, at all.
Yeah,
Um
at all.
dude, this was sick. I feel like we needed to hear some optimistic outlook takes. I mean, we kind of, usually I would ask you at the end here, like, where do you think the most opportunity is for the traders and like the thinkers in the market over the next couple of years? We kind of spent most of it talking about stable coins. So you could say
Yeah.
stable coins again. I kind of want to ask it though, like, what else, or that included,
Oh,
is interesting, exciting to you about where we are and where we're going in crypto over the next couple of years here?
yeah. I have a thesis that like there may be companies in the public markets that actually outperform crypto native ones, like Robinhood, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And look, none of this financial advice, but like Robinhood has been interesting to me for a while because they have a really good user base. And again, they attract users, they acquire users easier than Coinbase because they're buying, like, everyone wants to buy stocks. They have investing in stocks and they built their brand and name on that. And so they have the ability to then upsell those users to crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because they have distribution, they have a large user base. It's a founder-led company. You always want to kind of invest in founder-led companies, right? Anytime a founder leaves, the stock kind of like drops to zero eventually. Rare exceptions like Microsoft and whatnot, but Robinhood is a founder-led organization. I think they're super well positioned to capture tokenization of stocks, stablecoin adoption. And there's other companies in the public markets, like Nubank is this Brazilian fintech company that has 120 million users, one of the largest fintechs in Latin America. Again, Latin America as a region is going to adopt stablecoins. I don't know. I would steer clear of DATs. I know you probably talked about this a lot in your podcast. It would suck if you bought a DAT longing ETH, for instance, and the DAT, you're buying it at like 5 times premium, and it goes to like the premium compresses, so you're basically down like 80%, and Ethereum rallies, and you didn't make money. Like, brother in Christ, just buy spot and chill. Like, don't try to overcomplicate it. And I think the last thing I'll say is, like, 2 days ago, a good friend of mine asked me, like, do you still think that you can do like 1,000x in crypto? And the answer to that was like, I didn't think twice. I was like, absolutely. Look, you can make 1,000x in any market. And by the way, in bull or bear market conditions. Why? Because like there's just sectors right now that even though you're in a bull market have been totally overlooked. Like DeFi for a while, no one cares about it. It's like not in the limelight, not in the narrative, but like it has traction. Certain gaming companies, like, gaming is gonna come back in some way, shape, or another. Like, it's, we're using Discord, like the user base that likes Discord gaming very much likes crypto. NFTs are still not dead. So there's like certain pockets of the crypto markets that are just very neglected. And I've always found it like, look, the worst thing you can do is try to like cover the entire universe, because then you're never going to really go deep. But if you join Discord groups, like the amount of information, you can be super close to teams because it's all open source. Yeah. So go spend time in specific companies, and I'm sure you'll find certain gems in there that, I guess the hard part is not necessarily finding the 1000x, is like holding it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Dude, that was sick. Also, this was Santiago. I've never really honestly, I don't think I've heard you speak much at all, but this was a fucking banger, man. I didn't really know what to expect. This was sick, dude.
I appreciate
I
you
kind of
coming
just
on.
fucking took a shot. I'm seeing you on my Twitter feed. Like, come on the stream, let's do it. This was lit, man. Thanks for the time.
You do a great job. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course, dude. We'll definitely talk offline, but it was a pleasure, man. Much love.
Yeah.
All right,
Take
peace.
care.